I was watching a video la ku TikTok by a gentleman who reached 16.
At some point within my ward, we had 38 patients. We were so overworked and we were swamped. I was frustrated. I decided to count. Out of that 38, 19 were foreign nationals. 19 of them were South Africans, and all those 19 foreign nationals were undocumented. And as healthcare professionals, we don't discriminate.
Phana nomuntu wethu ukhala ngokuthi ukhala ngeconstitution section 27 subsection 1 and 2 where constitution othi everyone has a right to have access to healthcare services. So into akhala ngayo kakhulu but ukhala nge influx of illegal foreigners into the healthcare system ukuthi one, they are overworked, two, i-medication labafowethu bayayithatha bayoyidayisa emazweni abo ukhala ngokuthi futhi yake kuze kuphoqa ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi abakhiphe imali emaphaketheni kubona benikele kwigule esikhona esibhedlela. So ngafuna ukuchecka because I think the problem we have, it is the constitution and the interpretation of the constitution by the judges and magistrates. So ngathi angeke ngichecke ngempela ukuthi was it really the intention of the legislature, whoever put the constitution as the supreme law of the country, inhloso yakhe ngempela ukuthi wonke umuntu around the world kube ukuthi he has access to our healthcare system yini lena ke bafowethu ilokho nyani constitution le. So if you look at the first pages of the constitution, especially this page, if I may show it in the constitution, if you look at this this page umuqala kuyona ikutshela ngosize we-South Africa ukuthi South Africa ingakanani, iyachaza ukuthi it is 1.2 million square kilometers. I-population as of 2025 in South Africa, it is 64.7 million people that are living in South Africa. So I believe ukuthi the reason why those two things are included kule constitution ukuzama ukuchaza ukuthi this constitution only applies, or its supremacy only applies within the borders of South Africa as a 1.2 square kilometers, and it applies to the population of South Africa, which is 64 million people in South Africa. So ngifuna ukucheck the background of the constitution now that we have the supreme law. Where does it come from? Who voted for it? Because I believe there's very few people that were part of ukufakwa constitution as the supreme law of this country. Ngicela hlehleke la iqala khona lento ekuthiwa is constitution le esisibambe ngobhongwane kangakho. So angeke ngihlehleke bakwethu ngiqale la iqala khona. Ngo-1899 kwakunempi between amabhunu nabelungu which was called i-Anglo-Boer War, right? Iqala ngo-1899 alwa amabhunu nabelungu. 1902 iphele ilokhu njani i-Anglo-Boer War le. Iphela amabhunu adefeathiwe abelungu, ashayiwe abelungu. So to a point ukuthi amabhunu give up i-independence yabo. So okuchaza ukuthi bayinikela baba ama-British subjects as well. So u-1902 abelungu they take over. Uqhubeka ukuthi between 1908 and 1909 bahlale phansi abelungu namabhunu to say bafowethu, let us sit down and have a constitution that will govern us as this new because there were four different colonies. There was Natal colony, there was Cape colony, there was Orange River colony, there was a Transvaal colony. So they want to unify those four colonies to form one country. So back in 1908 and 1909 baba ne national convention lapho yayibanjelwe eqala ibanjelwe la eThekwini, esibili abanjelwe eCape Town, enye abanjelwa eBloemfontein. La the main discussion kule national convention was to draft a constitution that will unify these four colonies, right? So babe nayo ke lelo khungane ngizosheshisa babe nayo le convention le, and in 1909 then the report, remember at this time they are under the British monarch but reported Britain. So the British Parliament then ibeka umthetho obizwa ngokuthi i-South African Act. I-South African Act yasibeka umthetho othi now sekusungulwa izwe ekuthiwa i-South Africa ebizwa ngokuthi Union of South Africa. Ngo-1910 ibekwa iParliament lase-Britain, or a British Parliament. So that is how South Africa became what it is now. So the South African Act became the first constitution of this land. But into ayibuhlungu-ke kule constitution ukuthi yayiba exclude abantu abamnyama from participating in any political undertakings, whatever decision black people were thinking. Were sidelined, right? And there was no right of healthcare or access to healthcare services by then, because that's the lapho ekuthenini sibheke ukuthi isukaphi lento ka-section 27 osuthi everyone. So 1941 i-America ne-Britain baphuma ku-World War II. Uma bephuma ku-World War II, base behlala phansi uFranklin Roosevelt no Watson Churchill basayina idocument ebizwa ukuthi Atlantic Charter ngo-1941. I-Atlantic Charter ke yayinamalungelo, or what we refer to now as Bill of Rights, yayinamalungelo abantu that was included, but that document was for Britain and America, not South Africa. But the ANC loved what was written in that document, and they incorporated some of the provisions in that document. Babese bona bebhala document ebizwa ukuthi i-African Claims. Kule African Claims eyasungulwa i-ANC na, it included some of the provisions that were found or kwi-Atlantic Charter. Right, or Bill of Rights. The ANC had a belief yokuthi the provision of health and medical services should be provided by the state. Mind you, so ANC introduces this and demands this from the then government, and that's where we are introduced to the right to access to healthcare services. In 1961, there was another constitution that was enacted. AI abolished the South African Act, right? And the Constitution in 1961 changed South Africa from being the Union of South Africa to being the Republic of South Africa. But even in this Constitution in 1961, there's no mention of the right to have access to healthcare services. Again, in 1983, another constitution is introduced. This constitution, what's different was that now Indians and Coloureds were going to be represented in Parliament, not black people. Black people are still sidelined. They're not included in political participation. Still, even the 1983 constitution, there's no right to healthcare services. We move along to the interim constitution in 1993. That's the constitution of chapter 3Y, where we now get introduced to the Bill of Rights in the constitution. But when the constitution in 1996, we see a Bill of Rights as chapter 2. So the only time we get introduced to the right of access to healthcare services, it is in the 1993 interim constitution. And that is because black people were sidelined. Black South Africans were sidelined from everything. So in chapter 2 of the 1996 constitution, that is where we then have the provision, section 27. Section 27 of the constitution, everyone has the right to have access to healthcare services. I'm dealing with section 27, subsection 1, everyone. So considering the history that I've just given, from the 80s or 1899, 1910, 1983 and whatever, black South Africans were excluded. In 1993, only white people, Indian people and coloured South Africans were included in Parliament, were included in the legislature, but black people were not. So they were even excluded to social services being grants, being healthcare services, and. So when we come in 1996, the legislature decided to include everyone, to say in section 27, everyone has a right of access to healthcare services. So my question is, by everyone, were they meaning white South Africans, black South Africans, Indian South Africans, and coloured South Africans? So that is everyone in the context of South Africa. And I doubt they foresaw the influx of illegal foreigners in South Africa. Right. Another issue or another problem that I have, it is the misinterpretation of the provision by the judges, the magistrates, and the lawyers. Those are the people that were entrusted by, because as Kumbulo, what happened to imithetho ekwakuyiyona eyayisebenza ngesikhathi sobandlululo? What happens to those laws? Those laws were not abolished. Those laws aqhubeka sebenza, and kwasekunikezwa amajaji nabameli a duty of interpreting those provisions in line with the constitution. Ibona abantu ke abasifaka ehlathini ke labo by misinterpreting the provision, forgetting the South African context, ekutheni ukuthi abantu abamnyama base South Africa have always been excluded from accessing healthcare services. So legislature, everyone has a right, does not mean each and every person around the world has a right to have access to our healthcare services. It meant everyone, meaning every South African, being black, coloured, Indian, and so I believe the only people or abantu abasifaka ehlathini la are the magistrates and the judges. Abasifaka ehlathini but maybe interpreter lento bayenze ngathi it was also including illegal foreigners. Those are the people that misled us. So The term everyone in section 27, again, that it did not include, or it does not include illegal foreigners, right? Because that provision does not say, this is another point, the provision does not say everyone has a right to public healthcare services. The Constitution says everyone has the right to access to healthcare services, but it does not say everyone has a right to public healthcare services. It does not say public healthcare. It says healthcare services, meaning that even private hospitals should provide, healthcare services to illegal foreigners, right? So I maintain, people that misinterpreted this provision, that forgot to take into consideration the context as a South Africa, the political context or the background history as a South Africa, by interpreting wrong only because they wanted to win the cases at that particular time. But they interpreted wrong, which it also include illegal foreigners. No, so because if you look at the first page that I showed you with Constitution, so would say South Africa knows how many people are in the country. So those people it is those people that are thinking with regards to the funding of the hospitals, with regards to the medication that's provided to the hospitals, with regards to everything in bed and because the most difficult thing, man, so figure spend the goods are in bed. Medication. What we know is that if you listen to the video uyayimentiona lento futhi into esiyaziyo sonke ukuthi laba futhi bokufika bengene kulesi sibhedlela bethathe medication and go to another clinic beyithathe leyo medication beyidayisa emazweni abo. We all know that. So if we do not protect our nurses and doctors and hospitals and our healthcare system, it is definitely going to collapse. It is going to collapse. I want us to go to section 27, subsection 2. Because we don't have to amend the Constitution to fix this. We do not have to amend the Constitution. No, subsection 2, section 27. The state must take reasonable legislative and other measures within its available resources to achieve the progressive realization of each of those rights. So to fix this, uhulumeni could easily enact a legislation that clearly states because of the limited resources we have, illegal foreigners cannot benefit from our healthcare services. Simple like that. We don't have to amend the Constitution. The Constitution is wrong. It's just the judges and magistrates that misinterpreted the Constitution, that forgot to take into consideration the history as a South Africa, especially abantu abamnyama. Because I still maintain that everyone that is found in Section 27 does not refer to illegal foreigners, refers to every South African citizen, every black, colored, white, and Indian South African. Yabo.